Hi, my name's David Hartmann. I live in Brisbane, Australia, and I've been an acupuncturist for almost 30 years. I've got a number of workshops with eLotus already. This particular one is really interesting because it's across either individual days, or you can essentially choose to attend some or all of it. It's across 4 days in total. So there's 2 days, July 16 and 17, 2022, and then August 13 and 14, 2022. So they're essentially a month apart. And all 4 days are on different aspects of numerology and acupuncture point combinations. So this particular workshop is, for me personally, very exciting because it's never been constructed at this level before, and actually is only the second time I've ever presented it before. The only other time was I did a live workshop in Australia. And so what this is doing is it's giving me the opportunity to present a topic I'm really interested in and done a ton of research across a really big amount of time. So we can really take our time and go through each concept very gradually and very thoroughly, so that you come out of the workshop series a lot more competent in both numerology and also acupuncture point combinations. So the acupuncture point combinations are essentially a point prescription, and for every concept within numerology that we discuss, the acupuncture point combinations will be included. So as they're included, the points are explained as to why they're in the treatment, and collectively you get a better sense of how the points are working together holistically or as a team, which is the design of all of the treatments across the whole of the 4 days. The points are working together as a team so that your patient gets, I believe, a much more personal approach. You don't have points going out doing individual things, hoping that it'll all come together. You actually have a really targeted design. So across the 4 days, what are we looking at? So the July 16 is looking at numerology. We're getting a look at the history of it. So where it sort of started out, it'll become very clear to you that it wasn't in China, this particular style of numerology, even though number systems in Chinese philosophy and medicine are quite significant. This is looking at the origins of more the Western numerology. Then we look at your ruling number or your life path number, and that's your date of birth added up into a number, and then that explains, I guess, you're born on a particular day to live a certain life. So it's essentially kind of, I guess, your destiny, not discounting the fact that there are potentially desires as well as destiny, but the numerology archetype system gives you a number that is attached to your date of birth. So it's essentially saying that you're born into a body at that time to perform a particular life. So we look at each of those numbers. We find out what everyone in the class is, which numbers they are, and we certainly focus on the ones that everyone is in the room. Not all of the numbers will be represented within the participants, and there'll often be multiple of the same number. So we'll make sure that we spend time on all of the numbers that are definitely part of what each participant is. And then for each number, what acupuncture point combination you could use. So that's on July 16. On July 17, we look at the personal year numbers. So that's every time you have a birthday, you add those numbers up, and that's a personal year. So for 1 year, on top of your overall ruling number from the day you're born, you also have a second number that kind of gives you an insight into how universal energy is working that year for you. So that's a personal year number, not discounting the fact that the universe has its own number as well, but it's called a universal year number. So for example, 2022 is 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. So the universe is having a 6 number year. So all these different things we look at. So if that's confusing, it'll make more sense as we go through. So you have a personal year number that we'll look at for each of the participants. We'll look at each of those, and a treatment or point combination is discussed as well. We'll look at your arrows of Pythagoras. The arrows are essentially your date of birth put into a noughts and crosses board. And we look to see if you have any lines of all numbers filling the line or a completely empty line, no numbers at all. And for each of those, they're representative of an arrow, a particular type. And we look at what that means for each of the participants and a point combination for that as well. So that's on the 17th of July. So each of those obviously can be attended singularly, although the 16th of July would make sense to attend to get the framework of what follows. And then a month later, on the 13th of August, we look at the 27 Club and the 28 set, and look at this concept of colliding numbers. So that's where you have a ruling number, so your date of birth, with your personal year number being the same number. And every 9 years, this happens throughout our life. And we look at what that colliding does. It's like having two magnets together, and you push them towards one another, and if they go click and they connect, then that's a colliding numbers working in your favor. If they want to keep bouncing off, then the numbers are colliding in a negative. So we look at how that plays out through a concept of, as I said, the 27 Club and the 28 set, and how that plays in with your age currently. Even if you're not 27 or 28 years of age, these colliding numbers happen at certain points in your life, and you can look at how that can be used in your favor. And then we look at how numerology can be used in conjunction with the 5-element archetypes. So we'll spend a brief amount of time looking at each of the 5-element archetypes. Not a long time though. There is a workshop series I've done with eLotus already on the archetypes. And so it would be ideal if you've, I guess, either already observed that or you purchase that so that you watch that in advance of the workshop. It's not imperative. It just will be, we'll go through it a little bit more swiftly than we did during the workshop I recently did with eLotus. So we look at the 5-element archetypes, what each one means. What is a wood archetype, for example, versus a fire archetype? And then we look at the numerology numbers and look at the connections and lack thereof between the numerology numbers and the 5-element archetypes. Looking at point combinations again, and that's on the 13th of August. On the 14th of August, we look at the 5 spirits and numerology. Again, 5 spirits was part of that 5-element archetype workshop series that's already there at eLotus. So it will be, we'll spend less time discussing each of the 5 spirits, and then we'll look at numerology again and how that ties in with each of the 5 spirits. So by the end of that sort of 4 days, if you're attending all 4, you're just basically building on your understanding of how numerology can be used in Chinese medicine. So, as I said, very excited by it because it's a really, really detailed workshop series. Across all 4 days, you essentially got 32 continuing professional development points, and not least of which just that extra experience to take out into the world, understand yourself better, understand your patients better, understand your friends and family better. So I hope to see you at those workshops, and take care. Goodbye for now.